What I'd heard is that some portion of Carlos Castaneda's novels came from his classwork here at UCLA.
Oh yeah, he was a graduate student. In fact, Clem Meehan, who was in the original founding fathers of the Indian Center, was an archaeologist, and Clem said he gave his class, Indian 101, and he had this short Peruvian guy who brought him because the kids were allowed, if they would interview a living Indian, they could get an A on a paper. Well, Carlos brought this set of interviews he'd done with somebody, claimed it was a Yaqui. And Clem was very excited, and he said, go get more. Well, next year he brought back what became the teachings of Don Juan. He ran it over to Bob Zachary, who was head of UC Press here. Zachary loved it, and they published it, and they gave Carlos an MA. And then 2 or 3 years later, he came back with another set of interviews, Journey to Ishtan. He got an honorary PhD. So he was doing, I mean, this is the good part of Carlos's work. He was out there talking with native peoples today, you know, who ride buses and have to deal with acculturation in Mexico and up here. And the United States, or the world even, said, oh my God, they're not exterminated. They're not all Plains Indian warriors riding horses. There's some philosophers among these people. There's some medicine people who can do some very strange, wonderful things. And so that whole magic realist side of the vision quest of native cultures and stuff, which takes us into Mexico, you know, with that term, was something that Carlos, I think, sparked. And it led at least to an updating, realistic appreciation of the positive values of native cultures. But the stereotype is a dangerous one, because not everybody is Don Juan, like not everybody is Crazy Horse. In California, we've got 100 tribes and 100 languages, and their cultures behave differently. You got Craig Saris writing about Mabel McKay, or Essie Parrish, who were two of the most powerful healing women in California, Pomo Miwok Indian women up around Sebastopol. So these become challenging paradigms of the Castaneda fad, let's call it. And then the whole mess gets brought in. How are we going to talk about 1,000 Native American cultures? Because they're not homogenous. They're, you know, seacoast, they're mountain, they're desert, they're plains, they're New England, and so they're as varied as any continent would be. And each of them has a language, each of them has a different history, a different way of looking at the world, and they don't always agree. A lot of them are traditional enemies. So it's very, very complicated, let's say.
Rich.
It's rich, it's challenging, it's a kind of remedy of the impression that white America, right, rules this world. Well, it doesn't. And the bedrock of all this is Native America.